Most organisations claim to value cooperation and collaboration, but all too often the behaviours of teams and individuals contradicts these values. In these situations, problems with organisational culture are likely to exist. Today I'm speaking to Eleanor Shakiba about these problems and how HR practitioners and managers can deal with them. Eleanor, what would be an example of cultural norms absolutely killing collaboration?
Well, many years ago I was called in to work with a research and development team who were actively sabotaging each other. So I mean actually sabotaging each other's experiments. And they were working in an environment where there were big signs up on the wall saying, "We value collaboration and cooperation," and yet their behaviour was directly opposite to that style of behaviour. So that's an example of what we would say is a toxic culture, where what people say they're doing is not reflected in what people are actually doing.
Now, is there a possibility that you can have what I'd call sort of creative collaboration, which involves a fair bit of challenge, a fair bit of even perhaps some heated moments? Is it possible to have that and still call it collaboration?
Absolutely. So that's what I call high energy interaction, where there's lots of debate, there's lots of ideas going backwards and forwards. As long as that's not shutting down anyone, and as long as that is sparking more ideas and more creativity, it's a very healthy thing to have happening. Where we have problems is where people are shutting each other down, or they're actively trying to make each other look stupid, or they're refusing to share information. In that sort of environment, we have a situation where it's just not possible to have collaborative conversations that are going to take us to useful places.
So if we think of HR managers and them observing some of the teams in their areas, or in fact in other divisions of their organisations, how can they tell if in fact there is this sort of disconnect between culture and collaboration?
Well, firstly, probably people are saying one thing and doing something totally different. So it's the person with the gym membership who says, "I'm exercising," but never actually uses it. Another example of the difference. The other thing to really listen out for is the yes but conversation. So someone throws out an idea and someone else says yes but, and they throw out another idea and there's another yes but. What you'll hear in a dialogue is yes and instead of yes but, and you'll hear people expanding on each other's ideas rather than simply cutting each other off. So listen really carefully to what's happening in meetings.
Right. And in terms of setting up a collaborative meeting, what tips have you got there? What issues we need to think about there?
So don't take people into a space where they're used to being bored and where there's no air and where there's no facilities for them to move around and think differently. Think about what outcome you want and give them enough space to move around, get rid of the status chairs, make sure that there's an environment where there's flip charts or where there's whiteboards so people can write their ideas down and capture them, and make sure that the environment itself is really facilitating people being able to exchange ideas, work together, but more importantly also capture their ideas as they work.
So where you get a situation where it is perhaps clear that the culture is blocking effective collaboration, what can you do about it? What practical things can you do?
Perhaps some of the things you can do is an audit. Actually walk around and do a checklist and see what behaviours are supporting people collaborating and what behaviours are getting in the way. And then really notice those behaviours that are blocking success and do an action plan. Work out what you can do to switch the situation around. Have a look at the tips on my website for how to have a dialogue. Teach people how to dialogue. Teach people the conversational patterns that are used in collaborative problem solving. If you do a search on that on my website, you will find quite a lot of tip sheets on how to get people collaborating in that conversation that takes us forward together style.
What can you do to try and create a more collaborative? What are the first steps that you can use to really build in more collaboration?
So go to my website and get the checklist and set yourself the goal of working through that checklist with the team itself so that everyone has a say. And once you've finished the checklist, make a decision about whether you can drive the change forward yourself or whether you need to get someone in to help you.
To help me, okay. So that checklist, so what I'm picking up there is that it's really good for the team to actually go through and actually use it as a collaborative exercise almost to actually review performance and what needs to be done. That's marvellous. Okay, so just a heads up for next time. Next time in our next program, we're going to be talking about coaching employees out of victim mode. That's going to be an interesting one too.
I'll look forward to speaking to you about it.
Great.